Enterprise Management 360, your main source for tech news, analysis, podcasts, and videos for the enterprise.
Welcome to the EM360 Podcast, where we have a weekly conversation with people who are impacting the enterprise tech landscape. My name is Matt Harris, editor at EM360. In today's episode, I'm joined by Nick Golovin, founder and CEO of Data Virtuality, and we're going to be talking about the world of data virtualization. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hi, Matt, and thank you. Thank you for having me here today.
No worries. Thank you for coming. Could you just give us a little background on who you are and what you do?
I am Nick Golovin. I'm CEO and founder of Data Virtuality. More than a decade ago, before founding Data Virtuality, I used to be in the shoes of our customers. So I was leading BI projects in different organizations, trying to get the data to the business side from all the different systems for decision making in the quickest possible way. And so while doing this, I use different data integration methods like data virtualization ETL, and especially for the data virtualization, I had to experience myself firsthand the pros and the contras of different data integration methods. And this made me think that it would be great to combine all those different methods in one platform, because depending on a use case, you will need one or the other method or even a combination of both. So being able to have it all together would be a great advantage. That's what I thought back then. And that's when I decided to take the lead and found Data Virtuality.
Great stuff. Thank you for that. So just to kind of like jump straight into kind of the subject of today's episode, how do you feel as though data virtualization can fit into the context of data integration?
Thank you. That's a good question. And it may sound odd a little bit, but I would like to take one step back and first define data virtualization. Although it has become a well-known technology in the last couple of years, but there is a fundamental difference in how we envision data virtualization, how we envision our future, and how we build our product. So talking to marketplace players on the regular basis, I noticed that the prevalent notion of data virtualization is a kind of just a newer marketing term for what was called data federation before. An integration data from disparate sources without physically moving them. So kind of connect, not collect thing. And this was mostly coined by the dominant data virtualization vendors in the market, who were originally data federation vendors. And I think this is actually pretty unfortunate. It's unfortunate because by doing so, data teams are limited in their capabilities of using these technologies or these products. Instead of focusing on how to best enable a smooth data supply chain, they need to concentrate on keeping up and maintaining the different data integration methods and different tools so that they can serve the different use cases which they have. Having said that, our data virtualization is something we see in a different way. So our data virtualization is something which we see as the main element or main pillar of a kind of data operating system, like Data OS. So you can imagine like it's with an operating system on a computer. You have all those different components and devices. They're all different technical ways. They work in different ways. But operating system is something which brings them all together, combines the inputs and the outputs, and provides a coherent experience for you using all those different components and devices. And for us, data virtualization is not just a way of, let's say, connect and join data from different places, but more importantly, it makes data workable. It makes it possible to do different things with the data. So it makes you agnostic of where the data is located, and at the same time, it hides all those technical details from the consumers, exactly like the operating system does. And this way, the consumer has the best and optimal way of getting and working with all the data. So that means that behind our data virtualization, understanding behind our data virtualization platform, you have different data integration methods, such as data virtualization in the data federation, meaning ETL, streaming, CDC, and all those different things are used together. And depending on what you want to do, what you want from the operating system. The data engineer or you can flexibly choose the method which is most suitable for you. Ideally, there is also an AI-based engine that gives recommendations about which method to use for a most effective experience for the data team. So to get back to your question, for us, data virtualization is a capability or a technology which makes the usage of the data agnostic in the relation to where the data live and how do they get moved behind the scenes. So this is a layer of data abstraction, which hides the technical complexity and exposes data in the most efficient way for the users.
Fantastic. And where do you kind of see this whole data virtualization market? Where do you see it leading to?
I actually see two big trends. So one thing is kind of related to the concept of something which is also inside the concept of data mesh. But also in other similar concepts. And I think that this is the involvement of the business side in all those data-related topics. So the business side, business users, subject matter experts, so their involvement in the data topics will increase dramatically. On one side, it's the importance of data for decision making, but on the other side, it's also the importance of the data for creating better products for the customers, data-based products, digital products, and this will impact the usability, accessibility, and governance, just to name a few things around the data. So this is one trend of getting data closer to business. And the other trend I see is something which I would call a SaaS wave, so software as a service wave. We have already seen this wave hitting the ETL market with some new players coming in like Fivetran and others. And I think this is also what is about to come to the data virtualization market rather sooner than later. SaaS will help data teams to really concentrate on delivering the data and make this data accessible so that it can be translated into insights rather than spending time and effort on the deployment and management of the infrastructure.
And what do you feel as though companies should do to make sure they're riding the wave instead of crashing into the shore?
Yeah, it's actually about a kind of funny feeling talking about the impact of SaaS the first 20 plus years after SaaS first appeared. But still in our market, in the data market, it's still rather new for many vendors and for many customers out there. So I think the key aspects to consider are two. So one thing is changing the perspective, the paradigm. So as with all new concepts, new technologies, like in this case, relatively new, again, 20 plus years already, but still a lot of concerns are raised. So there's security concern, governance concern, so different things. These are all new. Those were always there present with regards to SaaS. So for example, vendors have to ensure high security, minimize risks, and so on. So this is one perspective. And on the other side, the data teams will have to change their perspective and understand how to enable and use SaaS in their architecture. And actually, because of the overall software as a service movement and proliferation, there are already quite a significant number of organizations which are demanding and impatiently waiting for data virtualization as SaaS. So we're being actively asked for SaaS deployments on a regular basis. This is one aspect I wanted to highlight. And the other aspect is for the organizations to shift the mindset from build to use. Because right now, for data teams, it's still a lot about building. But the thing is, while they keep building things, other companies, their competitors, they may already be using those, so that some businesses will be moving quicker and some others will be left behind, busy building things by themselves.
That's great, and obviously you mentioned SaaS quite a few times there. What does SaaS actually mean to you? And how would you kind of just define SaaS in the wider perspective of the market?
Well, this is something where there's probably some confusion have arisen in the latest years because people call SaaS, several types of things can be called SaaS. But for me, on a very high level, SaaS for me is on one hand, it means taking more responsibility on our side, on the software vendor side. So responsibility for things like operations, monitoring, updates, backups, and so on. So this is one side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is providing better customer experience to the customers through real-time support, ongoing improvement of user interfaces, hiding and automating topics around updates, and so on and so on and so on. And also, SaaS means things like easier scalability, and also it means a journey towards fair usage-based pricing for the customers. So in short, kind of to summarize, I would say SaaS is about easy setup and operations. It's about great customer experience, and it's also increasingly about usage-based pricing.
And how will data virtualization as SaaS impact the market?
In my eyes, data virtualization being provided as SaaS brings it even closer to being a data operating system, because the underlying technical things, technical details, administrative responsibility is left to the software vendor, and the organizations can focus on operating with data, transforming the data into business insights. So some of the benefits I see can be, for example, enable best breed architectures for business by picking the best software tools and using them without having fear of having to operate them all on the IT side. Of course, there's a benefit of easier to use software because SaaS in general is told to be easier to use. Organizations will have an easier way of seeing the big picture with data virtualization. So getting to the big picture is another topic. Speed of business is, of course, an important thing. It makes you more agile with SaaS. It brings the data near to the business users and brings data into different areas of the business, different use cases, also into different data-enabled products, which you can imagine. So more use cases can be enabled, more processes, more products can be driven by the data. So these are some things how I can see companies benefiting from data virtualization as SaaS.
And what would you say is the difference between data virtualization as SaaS and SaaS data warehouses, like Snowflake?
The difference is, of course, that it's just different things. So one thing is concentrated around storing the data, and the other technology is concentrated on operating and providing the data. But those technologies can cooperate. So how can they cooperate? On one side, they can, for example, extend the reach of SaaS data warehouses by connecting those cloud data warehouses with other sources of data without really having to move the data. That's on one side. On the other side, with our understanding of data virtualization, which can also move the data, it also means that the type of cooperation can be data virtualization, filling the data, the cloud data lakes with data from other systems. So that's one aspect, this kind of cooperation and extending the reach. And the other aspect is that the proliferation of cloud data warehouses also brought up the topic of hybrid and multi-cloud architectures, because still the data, it increases the fragmentation of data in a way, because many companies start having some data on premise and some data in the cloud data warehouse, or maybe having data in different cloud data warehouses in different clouds. And this is where data virtualization can come to help and enable the operation in these use cases, in these architectures.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you, Nick, for all of your great insight on today's topic. And thank you to everyone who listened to our conversation as well. If you would like more information on what we discussed today, make sure you head on over to datavirtuality.com. We'll be back next week with another episode in our podcast series, but until then, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms. Follow the conversation on our socials at EM360 Tech on Twitter and LinkedIn. And for more great daily content, head on over to em360tech.com.